Amorim doesn't take over till after the November international break, so it's going to be Ruud van Nistelrooy again. Not sure if you saw any of the midweek victory over Leicester City.
Unfortunately, I did. Yes, I saw it all.
they look, I know it's against Leicester at home, but they play with a little bit of freedom. Can they take that into Sunday's game under Ruud van Nistelrooy, knowing that there's someone watching from Portugal that will be coming in a couple of weeks?
Well, Van Nistelrooy's got something to work out, and and if it depends how he goes about this. If he wants to go about it the way he did against Leicester, then we could be looking at 6-4, 5-3, something like that. Because Chelsea on the counter are dynamite, and Man United at times against Leicester City couldn't cope with them, and that wasn't even Leicester City's first team. So it's going to be how Van Nistelrooy decides to go about this. Is he going to be cautious? Is he going to draw a line in the sand, or is he going to go right? Hey, let's go and play, because he'll be going anyway. So I'm hoping he says let's go and play, because if he does, I think there'll be goals galore in this game.
If you were a player, who would you rather play for right now, Manchester United or Chelsea?
Chelsea.
Because?
They're going one way right now, and that's up. Manchester United, if they're lucky, are stagnating. Some would probably say they're going down. They finished 8th last year. They're now sitting in 14th, so they're going the wrong way, and Chelsea's going the right way. People are talking. Before the ball was kicked, we were talking about Chelsea not getting anywhere close to any sort of European football. Just try and get on a level pegging somewhat, calm down, settle down. But they've certainly Maresca, who has to be given a huge amount of credit, has got them in a position where they're not just calm, they're not just settled, they're actually going in the right direction. So I think that's an easy choice. It has to be Chelsea.
Given what you've just said about what we were talking about, you can go back just 3 months and Chelsea, how many players have they signed? What's he going to do with all these players? They're a mess. What are they going to do this season? It's just a case of another team. That was 3 months ago. What's to say that a good coach like Ruben Amorim can't come into Manchester United and have a similar effect and have a similar turnaround over the next 3-4 months?
Well, the argument would be that the actual players that United have aren't good enough. That's the argument, because Maresca's come in, and I think as much as anything else, he's got a lot of young players, and when you have a lot of young players, yes, you have problems with consistency, but what you do is, if you have the right way with them and you handle them personally in a correct manner, you've got them. They'll do anything for you. Man United are a mishmash of players that are past the best, players that might have a little bit bigger ego, that they're not going to be told when, where, why, and what. They've got some young guys that might help them, and then they've got some players that just aren't good enough, and that's just the truth. So yeah, if you look at both squads, there's a completely different. There's a thing running through the spine of Chelsea that looks solid and looks as though it's working and it's going in the right direction. And you look at the spine of Manchester United, and you're not sure what's happening, you're not sure where it's going, and you certainly know it's not working. I mean, two fundamentally different situations for two different teams. So yeah, Maresca's done a fantastic job at Chelsea so far. You've got to say that.
Oh, without a doubt. When it comes to signing players in January, and players find out that Manchester United are interested, is it all about, it's Manchester United in for me? Or is it some of it about Amorim wants me? How much of a kind of say, or how much of an influence is the manager, in this case Amorim, and is he a big enough name to attract certain players? Or is it far more about, hey, Manchester United want me? Because at the top of the show, we were talking about, if Real Madrid come in for you, then you're going to listen. Is that the same now for Manchester United? Do they still have that kind of wow factor? Their name, forget the way that the club is run, that if they come and Amorim wants to, that the likelihood is you're going to listen?
Absolutely not. No, I don't think any of the top players right now would be interested in going to Manchester United, unless it was the last deal. And Casemiro's probably the best example of that. You know, Casemiro, 7-8 years previous to when he went to Manchester United, wouldn't have dreamed of going there. So no, the top players are not going to Manchester United. The players that are on their way up might still understand what Manchester United was about, might still realise that, yes, of course, it's a huge club, but yeah, right now Manchester United is about finding young players who still think of Man United as this starry destination, or it's older players who are either trying to resurrect a career or looking for a payday. That's kind of what Manchester United have been getting recently. Certainly, that's what they've been signing.
What about Sunday? I deliberately haven't checked what the odds maker says. I don't want to be influenced by that. If you were pricing this game up, or if you were putting your last dollar on it, would you be thinking more towards Chelsea, or is it the whole new manager bounce could give United something? What do you reckon?
No, I'd definitely go towards Chelsea. Yeah, I wouldn't get too carried away with beating Leicester City reserves 5-2 at home, scoring 5 goals, and everybody goes home happy. It's a lovely tonic. It's a great tonic for Man United fans to go to Old Trafford and leave with 5 goals in the goals for account. I mean, that's just not something they've been used to for a long time. But if Chelsea are anywhere close to what they've been doing this season, particularly in the counter-attack, then I think I would go, because it's at Old Trafford, probably Chelsea would be slight favourites for me. But yeah, if it's my last dollar, I'm putting it on Chelsea.
Final question before we move on to a more general Premier League chat. This is the first chance that any of us at ESPN FC have had a chance to react to Manchester United's confirmation that Ruben Amorim is joining the football club from Sporting Lisbon. Could he be up there with a Sir Alex and a Mourinho as far as influence? Hold on. Let's not get carried away. When it comes to, he walks into...
Let's not get carried away. Could it be Ferguson?
No, let me
couldn't get any more carried away if you tried.
Let me finish the sentence. Does he have a presence when he walks into that dressing room like some of the ones in the past?
I couldn't answer that. I've never met the guy. But I would say that any manager who walks in a dressing room for the first time gets the opportunity to make a difference. You know, but very, very few managers walk in a dressing room and straight away everybody goes, "Oh, what's this guy doing here?" Unless he's got one of the worst reputations in the history of football. But a guy like Amorim walking into the dressing room for the first time, meeting the players for the first time, straight away gets a certain amount of respect. After that, it's up to Amorim to keep that respect and build on it the way that the Fergusons and the Klopps and all these other guys that have become so successful do. So it's really up to Amorim to make sure that he puts his stamp every time, particularly the first time, but every time he walks in that dressing room or every time he has something to say, he has to make sure that the players are listening.
We've just moved into November now. Let's have we'll end today's ESPN FC Live by talking about the Premier League with Stevie Nicol. And there's a decent enough sample size so far from what we've seen with the games. Would it be fair to say there hasn't been a standout team so far in the Premier League, Stevie?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, we all kind of look at the City, Arsenal, and Liverpool as being the title contenders. But I think we also see that they all have flaws, and I think we've probably concentrated on those flaws probably a little bit more than we have what they're actually really good at. So yeah, I would say it's tough to turn around and be really impressed with anybody. I think the most impressive thing I would say would be Maresca at Chelsea. We've just spoken about Chelsea, and you mentioned it 3 months ago before a ball was kicked. We were still in the realms of, wow, how is this thing going to change? When is it going to turn around? How is a guy who's had one season in the Championship and never managed in the Premier League going to turn around a club this size with the amount of problems that they've had, with the amount of players they've had? I mean, there was just so many questions and absolutely no answers. And 3 months later, we're looking at a Chelsea side that are building and getting better and getting better. And now we're starting to talk about them in terms of European football and in terms of can they get close to the top four? I mean, this is so opposite of all the things we were saying before a ball was kicked. So I guess if I was to say I've been impressed with anything in the Premier League this year, it has to be Chelsea and Maresca and the job that he's doing there.
What about the shoe on the other foot? We do try and accentuate the positive where possible, but there's been some horrible teams and horrible performances so far.
This is easy.
It's got to be Man United, right?
Well, actually, I forgot about Man United for that there. I was actually going to say West Ham. I don't. Yeah.
Teams.
I'll tell you what. I think you're right. I think probably.
Based on expectations.
No. Actually, no. You know what? Actually, no. Now that I think about it, no, because every single one of us said at the end of the season when they kept Ten Hag on that this was a disaster. What a bad move, and how could it get any better? And so, in a lot of ways, even though it's got worse, it's not that big a surprise, because we knew that they were in trouble. We knew that the guy in charge in Ten Hag wasn't capable of getting them out of trouble. So at the end of the day, I think West Ham is the correct answer. I mean, it's kind of just be careful what you wish for. Under David Moyes, you knew exactly what you're going to get. The hierarchy there decided no, they wanted more expansive football, more excitement, all the fancy things, and they go and bring in Lopetegui, and they bring in players, Kelman, Füllkrug, Somerville from Leeds, Sola from PSG. They go and spend a lot of money, and then they produce, particularly at home, the biggest lot of dross you've ever seen. I mean, you talk about uninspiring. That's what West Ham are, particularly at home, because at least away from home they get a chance to counter-attack. I mean, at home they've been absolutely useless, and so I think the answer is absolutely West Ham. And how they managed to beat Manchester United last weekend. I mean, Manchester United should have been 3 up at half-time, so that kind of ties in nicely with the Man United West Ham argument. So if Manchester United are completely outplaying West Ham, I think that gives us the right conclusion that West Ham absolutely have to be the most unimpressive team so far in the Premier League, considering what they spent and changing the manager and the whole so-called philosophy.
Yeah, it's totally subjective, but they've scored 4 more goals than Newcastle. No one's really talking about Newcastle as a team that's underachieved so far, based on expectation of where we thought they might be. Just 9 goals in 9 games for Newcastle. That's not great.
No, but, they weren't good last year. They struggled last year. You could argue that they're certainly not any worse than they were last year. So in terms of unimpressive, I think definitely we stick with West Ham, and there's no question Man United are in there. But yeah, I don't think Newcastle are in that league yet.
What about a player of the season so far? Because Erling Haaland's kind of gone off the boil of late, but he's still got 11 goals. He's still 3 clear of Bryan Mbeumo, who's really stepped up since Ivan Toney left for the Middle East. Any of those two maybe in contention for your player of the year so far, or have you got any others?
Well, I think the biggest surprise of the season so far, I mean, you could say Mbeumo's a bit of that, but I mean, he scored, 3 goals in the first minute of 3 different games in a trot. I think the biggest surprise for me this season has been a Liverpool player, no question, and that's Ryan Gravenberch. I mean, I honestly thought in the off-season, I thought, where's this guy going? Because they need to get rid of him. Because in my opinion, since he came under Klopp, he has done absolutely nothing. I don't remember anything he did in any games he played in under Klopp at all. And to me, he looked a complete bust. And then Arne Slot comes in, and then he slots in Gravenberch, that is, to that defensive midfield position. And he has been absolutely outstanding, no question. I mean, and as I said, it's such a huge shock. I saw the team sheet against Ipswich, first game of the season, and I saw Gravenberch in it, and I'm thinking, oh, why is Gravenberch playing? I wasn't saying that by the end of the game, and I'm certainly not saying that now. He has absolutely been the find of the season, and what he's doing, if he continues to do it, he's going to cement himself for a long time in this Liverpool midfield because he has been outstanding.
I know this next topic wasn't on our list, but I kind of want to introduce it right now as an unsung hero, because there's a couple that I think they deserve a fair bit of praise, and maybe they haven't been getting that because they've been flying under the radar. Danny Welbeck at Brighton with 6 goals is flying right now. They've got a tough one this weekend. But Chris Wood at Nottingham Forest, I mean, they're 7th in the table. He's got 7 goals, and sometimes you just find a club, don't you? Because he's been a bit of a journeyman, but he works. He suits that Forest style, and Nuno's got him absolutely flying right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on both of them. You know, Wood, as you said, has been around because his skill set is just specific. You know, he is an out ball. He's a guy that will hold it up. But what he's doing this year is his finishing has been tremendous. And he's in the right team to do it. You know, Forest are not a team that are all about attacking football. They are organised. They have a plan. They draw a line in the sand, and then they try and counter-attack. And he's the payoff for him is big time this season, as you said, with 7 goals. And I think Danny Welbeck, your other shout, is a great one as well. You know, Danny Welbeck, I think his biggest problems, even at Manchester United, was he couldn't stay fit long enough to get a really good run of games. And I think what you're seeing now is an experienced guy using all that guile, all that knowledge, and he's staying fit and healthy. And the way Brighton play, it's all about going forward at pace, and again, a bit like Wood. He absolutely is reaping the benefits of the way his team play. But at the end of the day, he's the one that's making the finishes. He's the one that's putting the ball in the back of the net, and his finishing has been impeccable. Not just on the ground, but in the air as well.
Okay, let's wrap this up. I know it's the 1st of November. I know it's early, but when we look back at the end of the season and see Stevie Nicholls' top 4 predictions from ESPN FC Live on the 1st of November, and we go, wow, he got it spot on. So what's your top 4 right now?
City. Liverpool, Arsenal. And I'm going Villa 4th.
Okay. We will ask you again as the season goes on.